the small classroom. Do you remember? It's been a while since we met, probably like a week and a half, right? So please open to page 24. Page 24. Okay? Does anyone remember what we read about last week? Look at the pictures. Remember, we read to this little yellow dot. So we have 3 pictures to look at. This one, and here. Do you remember what's happening in the story with Buck? Remember, he's working in a sledge shop. Where is Buck in this picture? Point to Buck in the picture. Where do you see Buck? Right there. Good, Lily. So he's right in front. Remember, he becomes the lead dog. That means that he's the boss now. Okay? So then, what happens after Buck becomes the boss? Look at where you starred. You put a star next to the most important fact, right? I see a star there and a star there. Where's your star? Okay, and Derek? Right there? Okay, read the sentence next to the star, please. Lily? What did you think was the most important fact? Okay, not your question, but the star. Right here. Here's your star. Okay, so can you please read that out loud? Okay, they were surprised and very happy because Buck was a good new boss. Okay? Julie? Okay, can you show me? Okay, so you have the same sentence. Danielle, where's your star? I think this is a really good important fact. Can you please read that out loud?
They have to leave.
They had to leave Skagway and the Yukon. Okay, good. Okay, so remember at the very end, it says they had to sell the dogs quickly. Francois put his arms around Buck's neck and cried. Buck never saw the 2 men again. Okay, so what happened to Francois and Perrault? They left, right? So now, who does Buck work for? Who owns him? That's what we're going to find out in the next section of the chapter. Okay? So I'm going to ask you to read from here, from this yellow dot where we left off, to the end of the chapter. Okay? Read silently in your head. And remember, last time we met, we did the close read, and we asked questions, and we circled new vocabulary. So, as you read in your head, I want you to circle words that are new to you and you don't understand, and we'll discuss them. And I want you to write a question mark next to parts of the story that don't make sense, and we'll discuss it, okay? So what are the 2 things you're going to do? You're going to silently read and do what? Circle new vocabulary and write a question mark. Just like you wrote questions on here, okay? So circle new vocabulary like last time and write a question mark next to new parts, okay? So please begin to read the second part of the chapter. Okay, so let's talk about the new words that you circled or underlined. Okay? What's the first word? Did you find any new words on page 27, the first part? Scottish. Okay. Daniel, do you know what Scottish means? It says, a Scottish man bought the sledge dogs. Okay? Do you have any guesses?
No.
No? Okay, so Scottish is a nationality of someone. So someone from Europe, from Scotland, okay? What's a word that you underlined? Okay. Derek, any new words that you found? Let's see. Of company? Okay. So the next sentence says, he and some other men worked for the Canadian Mail Company. Did anyone else circle or underline that? Yeah. What do you think that means? Because Buck, the old owners are no longer around, right? He says they never saw the two men again, so he has new owners. Who does he work for now? Who are the new bosses? The Scottish man, right? And he works for the Canadian Mail Company. So, remember when we looked at this map, we talked about how the sledge dogs are traveling long distances? They're carrying mail, okay? Letters. They're carrying letters in the sledges. So he works for a company that moves mail from here to carry letters, okay? So they can communicate. So when it says they work for the Canadian Mail Company, that's what that means. Hey, Lily, what's a word? Oh, thank you. What's the word that you circled? Back to Dawson, okay? Dawson is capitalized, so we know that that's a place also on this map. Okay, so Dawson is one of the places that they're traveling to. Right? What other words did we circle or underline? Thick. Okay, so can you read that sentence out loud, please? Thick. Good. So thick is describing the snow. The snow was very thick, and it says the sledge was heavy. So when the dogs are running through the snow, if there's a lot of snow on the ground, it's hard to pull the sledge because there's so much, right? And it doesn't go very smooth. So the snow is thick. It's difficult to pull the sledge through the snow. Okay, what other words did you circle or underline on the next pages? Okay, howled. Says he howled sadly and started to walk slowly behind the sledge. Howled is a noise a dog makes. So remember last week we talked about dogs barking, right? They go ruff ruff, right? A dog. Okay. So what's an example of a dog howling? It goes, oh! That's a howl. That's how dogs howl. Okay. All right. What other words? Do you have any other words? Derek, do you have words on this next page? I think I saw something earlier. There's Scottish. We talked about Scottish already. Okay, harness. Okay, Derek underlined harness. Can anyone help him remember what that is? Derek? Julia? Hey, tell him. Harness is what the dogs wear on their neck, right? You're pointing to it. Okay, good, to pull the sledge. Any other new words? Okay, so there's two important things that happened in the chapter. One we already talked about. He has new owners, right? And now he works for the Canadian Mail Company. That's one thing. What about the rest of the chapter? What happens in the rest of the chapter? It talks about one dog specifically. Dave. Okay. What's happening with Dave? Good. Okay, the man did kill Dave, but he didn't do anything wrong. What was wrong with Dave? Why did he kill him?
He can't run fast because he has so many penalties.
Good, exactly. He can't run fast anymore because he's hurt and he's injured. So at the very end, do you find a sentence where it says that the man killed Dave? And good. They heard the sound of a gun. Okay? So, what do you think that was a fair thing to do? Was that doing him, was he being nice when he did that, or is he being mean? and kill Dave because he was hurt. Was that nice or is that
No.
mean?
I say
What do you think? Lily, what do you think?
he shouldn't kill her. He should
Does so you think instead of killing him, he should have carried him to town to get a doctor? Does anyone agree with Daniel? Do you think that was okay for him?
就这样
Okay. You no Chinese. You can look at his picture right here. See, and the man he's going to kill Dave, right? Derek, do you think that was okay of him? Yes or bad?
我就是看那种，就说这个人这样把那个朋友杀掉了，我觉得说可能应该很害人。he said it's bad.
It's bad? Do you agree that he should go to the next town for a doctor? Yeah. What about you guys? Do you think that was okay? Because that's kind of a big deal, right? Okay, good. So now I want you to turn to the next page and work on the end of chapter activity.